A lot of us would think like, my child doesn't sit still, or they have a lot of energy, or they have a short attention span. So how can they actually learn how to meditate when maybe I can't meditate? Like I can't sit still. I can't clear up my mind. So how are they supposed to do it?
You're listening to the Mindful Mama podcast, episode number 226. Today we're talking about meditation for kids with Tejal Patel. Welcome to the Mindful Mama podcast. Here it's about becoming a less irritable, more joyful parent. At Mindful Mama, we know that you cannot give what you do not have. And when you have calm and peace within, then you can give it to your children. I'm your host, Hunter Clark-Fields, Mindful Mama Mentor. I help smart, thoughtful parents stay calm so they can have strong, connected relationships with their children. I've been practicing mindfulness for over 20 years. I'm the creator for the Mindful Parenting membership, and I'm the author of Raising Good Humans, a mindful guide to breaking the cycle of reactive parenting and raising kind, confident kids. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend. I am so glad you are here. I hope you are healthy and safe and sound in these crazy days. If you are listening in current times in our crazy shelter-in-place world of 2020, I feel like we did not give 2019 its due. Like, I think we underestimated 2019. We should have appreciated 2019 more because 2020 is a whole different story. Oh my goodness. So we are all figuring out how to deal with our stress, and we're using the tools. We put out the Mindful Mama Daily Dose, 24 free meditations for you to use. It's a crazy world. There's a lot happening. And so we're using meditation as a tool in our own families, in ourselves, right? To help us reduce our stress response and have a little equanimity through the ups and downs of what's happening here. It's something that I really is essential. I need to keep in my life, but what do we do for kids? And there's been so much exciting movement about meditation and mindfulness for kids in recent years, and we've talked about it with different people on the podcast, and recently talking to Susan Kaiser Greenland, I think in episode 200, I don't know. You'd have to look it up, but very recently, and her sharing some tips. And today we have Tejal Patel, and she's a former divorce attorney turned Ayurveda mindfulness and meditation expert for moms and kids. And she's the host of the Time and Talks and author of a new book, Meditation for Kids, 40 Activities to Manage Emotions, Ease Anxiety, and Stay Focused, which is out right now. You can get it, and I recommend it. So, we're going to talk today about what does it look like for a child to meditate? And I want you to get rid of that idea of like your child sitting silently for hours. But honestly, little kids can meditate. And you're going to hear in this conversation that I have some skepticism in my voice because it's not something I was familiar with when my kids were little too much. It wasn't something that I did. But Tejal shares wonderful active meditations from the Kundalini yoga tradition that can help children deal with different feelings. So I want you to listen for some important takeaways, how meditation can really help kids activate their rest and relax response, how we can use language kids understand, like yummy and yucky, to talk about their feelings and their stress, and how kids can really access this power, the power of meditation that we may know as adults through meditations for them, with mantras and movement. So I'm excited for you to dive into this episode. And before we dive in, I just want to let you know that this summer coming up soon, I'm going to be opening enrollment for the Mindful Parenting Teacher Training Program. And the prerequisite for it is going through the Mindful Parenting course. So we will have that available this summer. But I am so excited about my teacher trainees. We are starting to bring mindful parenting to communities, and actually will be the first batch of teachers will be taking it to communities in Montana, I believe, Kansas, and Sweden. Crazy, right? And this teacher training course will teach you to certify you to teach my mindful parenting course, the 8 modules of that in person in your local community. So this is when we can start to get back together in person and you can maybe train to do that. So if you're passionate about parenting, if you're maybe you're a therapist or a doula or just love this and is something that you want to make in your life much, in a deeper level and something that you want to share. And, learning to teach something really makes you learn it awfully well. Well, reach out to me. Right now, we don't have the webpage for this up and ready yet as of the release of this episode, but it should be up soon. But you can check at mindfulmamamentor.com for that, or reach out to me at hunter@mindfulmamamentor.com, and I'd be happy to talk to you more about it. Okay, enough about that. On to this episode. Tejal, thanks so much for coming on the Mindful Mama podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Hunter.
I'm so glad you could come here and talking about a very important topic these days. Help your kids chill now that we are all, so many of us, like as of time of recording, 1/5 of the people in the US anyway are under orders to stay home with the pandemic. So I'm so super excited to talk to you about this and helping kids with mindfulness. I'm so thrilled for you to come on to talk about this. But first, I just want to check in with you and how is the stay home? How are the stay home orders going for your family?
It's been interesting. I have a almost 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. I think that the most difficult part has been having my husband home, honestly, because that throws my schedule out off in a loop, surprisingly enough. But yeah, it's been interesting in the sense that just kind of creating a new schedule. The first week I felt was chaotic, and now we're like moving into the second week, and I'm very much like a routine oriented person. So I'm like, all right, okay, we're home. And now like I feel a little bit more settled, I think, because I made a new routine for us. So yeah, it's been going okay.
All right, cool. And you're not far from me. Tejal and I live pretty close to each other. You're in Southern Jersey and I'm Northern Delaware. And it sounds like, you kind of have a similar experience. So I'm lucky enough, very fortunate enough to have our own house with our own yard. So we can just step outside and have fresh air. I'm really appreciating that more than I ever have before. And we're doing a lot of that. So we can go around our neighborhood and all kinds of things like that. And I'm just noticing that things are quiet. Like there's just not as many people, not as many, or there are people outside, but not as many cars, and just, not a lot happening, I suppose.
I like that though. It's like it's really like quieted down, and I think, like you said, we live in a neighborhood, so just seeing all the kids outside playing when the weather's nice, like people taking walks, social distancing, but they're like
Yeah,
taking
yeah, yeah.
walks, and we're just kind of reconnecting and slowing down and just being with each other.
I know. I think in some ways, like there's a bunch of suffering happening, like that. To be clear, like
Hmm.
there's all that definitely happening, but it's also helpful to remember the silver linings. Like there's, from the point of view of global warming, like this may be one of the best things to happen for the earth as far as like the clearing of pollution and that we're not using so much carbon, and that's great in some ways. And maybe this can be, there is the possibility that this can be a time of slowing down and healing, and just kind of, getting off that like rat treadmill. But then some people feel like they're even more scheduled and more in a rat race because now they're trying to work a full-time job and take care of their kids. And especially for a lot of women, they're kind of surprised to find that a lot of the jobs are falling along these traditional gender lines, and they're doing like all the cooking for everyone in the house all the time now, and that's not so fair. I don't know. There's a lot going on.
I think so. I think you really nailed it in the sense that everyone's experience, like it's not easy for anyone. And I think that the level of uprootingness or the level of emotions that we're feeling, I think I was reading this article on Harvard Business Review, and they were talking about the emotions that we're feeling is a process of grief. And we're, as anyone who experiences grief in the traditional sense, there's layers and experiences and emotions that's a cycle that gets with grief. And I think that's a good indication. Each and every one of us are different phases in that grief cycle. I think, some people are like in denial, and some people are like really angry, like their freedom is taken away. And some people are in the space of like acceptance. Okay, this is my new normal for the foreseeable future. What are my next steps that I need to take? I think we're just on this different spectrum of like this anticipatory grief that yes, our schedules and our lives are going to be changed and uprooted in ways that there's no concrete like vision for us to know what it is. And yeah, I think that we're all processing it the best way that we can.
I love that idea that we're all in these different great phases of grief because yeah, it is there's like it's like we are losing something. We're
Hmm.
losing this our lives as we knew them, and now we're in these different lives, and it's from certain perspectives it's like not so big a deal. My brother was laughing because I sent him a little meme that said like our ancestors were drafted and went to war, and you are being asked to stay on your couch. We can do this, just like,
Love it.
which is like such a great perspective and helpful, at times. But it's okay for us to feel this grief and this, the anxiety and the worry for the people on the front lines and all of that. So much happening. So our kids at different ages are processing this in different ways. I imagine your youngest one, it's all just kind of going over his head or her
Yeah.
head.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that. I did, with my 5-year-old, we do meditate, and we do all these mindfulness, and we're very open. I mean, to a certain degree, like what's happening and why we're home. But then the same thing, like exactly what you're saying. I had a moment yesterday. I was watching my 1-year-old in the bath, and he was like, nothing has changed in his life, right? Like it's still just engrossed in his little thing. So yeah, it's certainly, even before this, we know for a fact that children absorb secondhand stress, right? They have the ability, they're energetically sensitive. And even before this experience, the National Institute of Mental Health had said that nearly 1 in 5 children experience some sort of clinical level of anxiety before they reach adolescence. So this is a problem before this even this experience of coronavirus and this lockdown and the quarantine. Like childhood is anxiety is one of the top problems of our time.
Stay tuned for more Mindful Mama podcast right after this break. We are supported by the Grassroots Farmers Cooperative. With all the concerns right now about meat, from processing conditions to supply chain issues, I want you to know that there's a really good, and I really mean it, I'm so proud that they are my sponsor, a really much better way to source our meat, the Grassroots Farmers Cooperative. I am so impressed with them. They are committed to total transparency from pasture to plate. The Grassroots Farmers Cooperative is made up of small US-based family farms who handle every part of the meat production process, which makes them a resilient, trustworthy source for meat with less risk for disruption in the supply chain. Grassroots Farmers Cooperative farms thoughtfully for care of the land and their animals. They are concerned about replenishing valuable nutrients in the soil and raising their animals on pastures in micro herds. Grassroots Farmers Cooperative prioritizes quality of life for their animals, employee welfare, and food safety, which results in delicious, nutrient-rich meat as from a source that you can trust. we had some amazing burgers from Grassroots Farmers Cooperative, which I don't eat red meat, but I was so thrilled. We have red meat in our family about 3 times a year or 4 times a year, much to the chagrin of my older daughter, who loved it. She said they were amazing burgers. And I thought we had the chicken earlier, and it was so delicious. I could really taste the difference. You can order Grassroots Farmers Cooperative today. No subscription required. It's delivered straight to your door, and there's even a QR code on each piece of meat that lets you trace your meat back to the farm for total transparency. Right now, they're giving our listeners a special limited time offer, $40 off plus free shipping. And to get that, you can go to grassrootscoop.com/hunter to get the full details and order today. Go now. That's grassrootscoop.com/HUNTER. Yeah. So the childhood anxiety and adolescence, yeah, it's a huge problem. We've been hearing it everywhere. And even before this pandemic, there's a lot for them to be anxious about. It's a very different world. I think that it's interesting kind of think where it comes from. It's hard to know where it comes from. There's a lot of different sources. Are we more anxious? Are people just more aware of it in general? Or is it just the world is very uncertain and we have very few safety nets for people in the US, and there is a lot of uncertainty. So yeah, part of it, this dealing with childhood anxiety, and part of what you're doing to help with that is to help teach kids mindfulness practices. So tell me about how you got into that and how you got involved in this work.
Yeah, so about 10 years ago, I was actually a divorce attorney and I specialized in all out of court divorce resolution. So I was a divorce mediator and I did collaborative divorce. So I had both the husband and the wife in front of me, and it was a different type of, situation. And pretty much 100% of my clients were parents. That's why they were attempting to try to amicably divorce out of court. And, it was interestingly around that same time when I was 26, 27 years old, I personally was going on a spiritual journey. I was experiencing a lot of anxiety, panic attacks, and I largely thought it was because of the stress of my work and the nature of the work that I did. And I found yoga and meditation just naturally. Like when you get into that world, you just open up to one thing after the other. And the interesting thing is when you have the husband and wife in front of you, it's kind of half being an attorney, half a therapist, because they're so open with sharing their emotions as well. And a big topic of conversation was these parents' worry and fears of how this was emotionally hindering their children or affecting their children. And so naturally it would just start to, with some of my clients that I felt more comfortable with, trickle in some of the wisdom that I was learning through my own personal journey, and they were sharing it with their kids, and they were saying, wow, this really has been helping, whether it was a breathing technique or a book that I recommended. And so that was really when my intuition started telling me, what if children had these tools like meditation, mindfulness, breathing at a young age? And back in 2010 and 12, when I got certified, I went in, I did my kids yoga and mindfulness training first. And at the time, my husband and I owned preschools in the South Jersey area. So I started infusing yoga and meditation and mindfulness in the classrooms. I did this program for the past 10 years. I've been teaching in the classroom setting. And then about 5 years ago, I really started getting my next intuitive hit was that, if I really wanted children to embody these practices and these tools from a young age and carry it with them, really parents and teachers also needed to be practicing and reinforcing these tools. Like, I'm just one person. Children come to me for 8-week periods of time, very short period of time in their life. So it's the parents and the teachers who are working with children more in depthly needed to be taught these tools. So about 5 years ago, I created a curriculum called the Mindful Beginnings curriculum, where I would go into classrooms for a full year. I would teach not only the children, but teachers, and the teachers would carry on the curriculum throughout the week. And so I've educated hundreds of New Jersey teachers how to bring these practices into classrooms. And then basically the trifecta, or the third point of it, back in 2014, when I was thinking about becoming a parent myself, I realized, I want to become certified in order to teach adults. And so I got my Kundalini yoga and meditation year-long certification. And it was during that process I became pregnant. And I really have infused these practices in my own parenthood and my own journey from the time that I was pregnant to newborn phase and beyond. And my oldest son is now 5. And, as he has been from the ages of 2.5 to 3, I've really documented and shared on my Instagram and my podcast how I build these practices with young children. And so I've
Mhm.
educated parents how to bring these practices. So my new book, Meditation for Kids, is really a compilation of my 10 years of experience teaching in the classroom, but also as a parent, my niche is not only just teaching like kid friendly like exercises or watered down exercises, but like really have the science of Ayurveda and yoga and the mindful breathing tools. Like when you're experiencing a certain type of stress, there is a specific yoga posture or a breathing or a meditation that's going to help you move through it. So when you're feeling anxiety, there's a different set of tools. When you're feeling anger, frustration, jealousy, there's another set of tools. When you're feeling sadness or completely fatigued, there's another set of tools. So my goal is that, my niche and my gift is to be able to translate these ancient wisdom in really kid friendly ways. But this book is a way of building family meditation into a practice, because these tools are rooted in ancient Ayurveda and science.
Okay, so you mentioned Ayurveda. Can you define that for the listener who is not familiar with what Ayurveda is?
Yes, absolutely. So Ayurveda is the oldest ancient holistic health system. It's the lesser known sister science to yoga. So these two sister sciences were always meant to be practiced together. And Ayurveda is essentially the wisdom of life, or the science of life. So essentially, what we talk about modern day stress, the wisdom of Ayurveda is all about how to achieve optimal health, well-being, and balance by creating a mind-body synergy through what we eat, through lifestyle practices, through correct yoga postures, breathing exercises, meditation. So it's a holistic way of creating preventative stress in your life. And so it ties in the wisdom of, like I said, yoga into these holistic life practices.
Yeah, when I think of Ayurveda, I think of, I guess, sort of the different ways of eating for different body types and the way people differently digest and process food, and things for helping you feel more grounded and things for helping you feel lighter, et cetera. And I know there's a lot more to it than that, which you can say, but that's a big journey to go from a divorce mediator to kind of sharing this with kids. And you and I have a lot in common in what we see with that this really needs to be part of the home, right? It needs to be part of families, it needs to be part of parents' lives in order for it to be a tool that kids can use. Parents need to be able to use that too. So when you think about, now I know that I can imagine the listener who maybe right now is home with their kids. The kids they're trying to homeschool. They're feeling crazy because they're trying to work their own full-time job. All this stuff is happening, and it sounds wonderful to have some stress release. Yes, like yes, that's what people need and what we want. I can imagine for many listeners this sounds really like unrealistic and like not for them, not something that they can bring into their lives right now. So talk to the idea of like sharing some of these mindfulness practices for kids, and the objections that somebody who's feeling really pressured and stressed might have to this.
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked that question. The first thing I think that there needs to be a perspective shift on actually like what does it look like for a child who meditates? Because a lot of us would think like, my child doesn't sit still or they have a lot of energy or they have a short attention span. So how can they actually learn how to meditate when maybe I can't meditate? Like I can't sit still. I can't clear out my mind. So how are they supposed to do it? And so one of the biggest things that we have to really get clear with this is that when we think of meditation, we think of this quintessential like individuals sitting on the floor, crisscross, eyes closed, taking deep breaths, focusing on their breath, and they have like no thoughts in their mind. And this, yeah, like that's the vision that we think of with meditation. And we're like, yeah, our kid's not going to do that.
The funny thing is too, is that everyone who's practiced meditation knows that it's such a BS image because no thoughts in your mind. Good luck with that one, honey.
Exactly. And that, and like that seated meditation where we're like focusing on our breath, like more that traditional mindfulness meditation, that's a form of passive meditation. So like there's tons of different types of meditations out there, but they fall into two categories. One being passive meditation, where the focus is like you're focusing on your mind to clear it out. But there's a second
Well,
category.
whoa. No. So just a second. But when you're doing mindfulness meditation, I could see it categories as a passive meditation that you're accepting and allowing whatever's arising. But the goal is not to clear your mind of thoughts. And it's really important. And I want the listener to understand that thoughts will come for the very experienced meditator for years and years and years. It's just about changing our relationship to the thoughts that arise and developing some concentration as well, but not to clear our minds of thoughts. I just want to put that in there. Thank you.
Yeah. No, so but the focus of it essentially is that you're learning how to, it's like focusing on your thoughts. It's like trying to clear it out, trying to like allow the thought and like try to get to that place of stillness where there's like you're with yourself and there's like clearness. So that's like that's the whole idea with like passive meditation. And then there's active meditation where the focus is like training your brain to have a mental anchor. So you're focusing on one thing at a time. And so with active meditation, the forms of meditation that are out there are when you're doing a guided meditation, because you're focusing on listening. It's a form of giving yourself a mental anchor. Or when you use an affirmation or a mantra, that is training your brain to focus on one thing at a time. So you're giving yourself an anchor. Breathing exercises. So like when you're using your when you're focusing on your breath, there are different types of breathing exercises. And when you're teaching children, you create it in a tangible way where you're using your body, or with my book, they're touching the book in a certain way. So they're giving their mind an anchor point. So what I say is that, which science says is like the active meditation is the way that when you start focusing on one thing at a time, automatically your parasympathetic nervous system activates. You start to relax. Your mind starts to slow down. So you're training your brain, which is a mechanism and a tool that we've been given to have thoughts. It's training it to focus on one thing at a time. And so when you're teaching children, the entry point, and when you're an adult, and if you're a beginner, and this was largely my experience too, when I tried mindfulness meditation first, of like trying to just clear it out and trying to focus on my breath only, it was much harder to do than when I entered the entry point of like having a mental anchor point to focus on. So when you're teaching children, and when I was trained in Kundalini meditation, I was fascinated because a lot of the meditations uses your body, and you're using mantras and you're using different breath work, and a lot of it felt very active, like you're actually physically moving your body, raising your hands above your head, shaking it out. There's like a meditation called Ego Eradicator where you're doing this pumping of your navel, and you don't need to really do it for a very long period of time. A lot of exercises and meditations that we did was for 1 to 3 minutes, and you would feel a visceral experience, a shift in your vibration and in your energy. And so when you're teaching children, the entry point, because they are naturally concrete learners and they use their bodies, there are a lot of Kundalini meditations that I translated in a way that's really playful, that help children and parents learn how to focus their mind and do that active meditation and help them build that anchor point. And then there's exercises in there. Once a child starts to learn how to focus, and a parent can practice these tools, learning to focus on one thing at a time, they can build that passive meditation practice that quintessential, like sitting quietly, closing your eyes, taking deep breaths, and like allowing the thoughts to come in and flow out. Just that sort of meditation. So that's the entry point of how we've been successful in teaching children the basics and the fundamentals of meditation at a young age.
That's so cool. And, and I would say like when we teach mindfulness meditation to a beginner, right, there is an anchor, right? There is an anchor. But definitely less active. I've done some Kundalini yoga practice and there's so active. So can you describe a couple of meditations that someone might teach a beginner, a child, starting wanting to do this and help their child chill out a little and release some stress?
Yeah. So the first thing that I think that what empowers not only our children but ourselves is helping us understand what is the type of stress that they're experiencing. And so there's a really simple, like yummy yucky stress scan example that's in the book, and that's like one of the entry points of one of the first exercises that you teach your child. And so the way that it's described is that our body is like an airplane, and anytime we feel like yucky inside, it means that one of our engines is not working. And so there's a scan that tells them, let's find out which one of our engines is not working. So you put your hands on your forehead. And that's your head engine. So is your head engine feeling yucky? Is it loud like a howling hurricane, or is it quiet like a starry summer night? And so you're
Mm.
helping them learn the sensation. Is your mind loud or is it quiet? And if they're feeling the loudness, that's where anxiety is. Because according to Ayurveda, when you're feeling anxiety, it means that there's too much energy that should be at your legs and your seat of your thighs. It's risen and now it's like spinning. So we have to ground that back out. So you need a breathing tool or a yoga posture or a mantra that's going to help you feel grounded. And then the second scan is that you place your hand on your heart and you see, does your heart engine feel hot like lava rocks resting on your chest, or does it feel cool like a strawberry smoothie? And so and that's when the seat of emotional stress is anger, frustration, jealousy. It creates heat in your body. What Ayurveda teaches us is that your Agni is burning too hot. That's why we feel flush in our face. That image of steam coming out of our ears, it's because there's too much heat in our body. So you need to do a breath. You need to do body postures, yoga postures to start cooling our body down. And then the third is placing your hand on your belly engine. Does your belly engine feel playful, excited, and happy like a happy dragon? Or is it slow and tired like a sleepy dragon? So feelings of sadness, of feeling even high levels of depression, like that, it's too much kapha earth energy in you, stagnant energy. So in order for us to feel like if we're feeling burnt out, fatigue, sadness, we need to invigorate that energy that's too hard or sluggish, and we need to move energy up. So with that stress scan, it teaches children to understand the sensations of their body, where the stress lives, and then there's also guides them to, like a parent can guide them, when I'm feeling my head engine is spinning, do a windy windmill breath. When I'm feeling that my heart engine is not working because it's overheated, then I do sipping strawberry smoothie breath. When my belly engine is feeling slow and sluggish, I do happy dragon breath. And this is a normal part of our conversation now as a parent. Like when I talk to my son Ayan and he's being really loud, and I notice that my trigger is that my head is spinning, like, Ayu, my head engine is really spinning, and whenever you're talking really loud, it sounds like a howling hurricane wind. Can you please just lower your volume just a little bit so that I can start settling it down? And he uses the same language. He's like, Mommy, my heart engine is feeling overheated. I need to do some strawberry smoothie breath. I need to cool down. And so this is a normal conversation now that we have. And it's a better way of communicating, not only as a parent, like what stress that they're experiencing in a way that's like not, like barking at our child. It's like a playful way of explaining it. And it's the easier way.
I love that. I love that idea of scanning the body and thinking and talking about it like an engine and things like that. This is a great way to share this with little kids, and it's very much sounds like kind of an energy management, like where what is happening in the body, and that's great because that teaches kids that proprioception, that sense of being able to feel inside one's body and become more embodied, which is really hard for many of us in our culture. So kind of what I'm hearing you say here is that parents and kids could start this together, that they could learn this together, and that this could be maybe a gateway for more mindfulness practice, or it maybe it just hangs out on its own as its own tool as it is to sort of manage energy and manage stress.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think there's such power. I've really made it as the easiest entry point for parents who are beginners at it, but
Hmm.
also, for parents who do maybe have their own practice, but they don't know how to communicate it to their children in a way that they'd understand.
Hmm.
This is for wherever you are on the spectrum. And just to kind of give an example of, like, because I get this all, so how do you even explain meditation to a child? And the
Hmm.
way that we do, because for children, this book is specifically for children between the ages of 4 to 8.
Hmm.
It's the same way. Like, we talk to our children about, you brush your teeth every day to take the sugar bugs away, and you wash your body to wash the germs away. We brush our brain every day by taking deep breaths and meditating to keep yucky thoughts and feelings away. So it's a part of our normal conversation, in the way that we've made it into a daily habit. And it's really, for children, it's only between 1 to 3 minutes. Like, each exercise in the book is very short, it's only a page. So you really only need to do 1 or 2 of the exercises. And that's, when you're building it, and that's enough. Like, that will start building the practice. A lot of people think, oh, is it like 5 minutes, 10 minutes? No, you just do little pieces. It's more of the consistency of, you're teaching your child, you brush your teeth every day, you took a shower, and we just brush our brain. We're doing consistently something to build that habit in their mind.
So what are some of the go-to kids meditation exercises that you use in your family? Can maybe if you could describe one, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about, like, windy windmill and sipping strawberry smoothies. So I figured I'll just do those, because we've already kind of talked about them. And those are probably the most predominant ones that you want to be able to teach. So the windy windmill breath is the one for anxiety, which I was talking about, when there's too much energy in our head. And we're experiencing that right now, right? Too many thoughts, worst case scenarios. We're just kind of flighty and living up in the future tripping type of situations. Um, the breath that we've been taught that helps turn on our parasympathetic nervous system for this is that you take a deep inhale in through your nose, and you're exhaling through your mouth, but the exhale being longer than the inhale. And so the way that you would describe that to your child is that, and I know you can't visually see me, so I'm going to do the best I can, because, like I said, everything is tangible. The child is not just taking deep breaths in and out, they're using their body in some way to help their mind focus on what they're doing. So what they do is that they take their 2 pointers, and they face it towards
Fingers.
each other. Yeah, pointer fingers. Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. Pointer fingers, and they're pointing it towards each other in front of their mouth, as
Mm.
if it's like, my son says, it's like London Bridge. So you
Mm.
close as the London Bridge, and what you do is you take your inhale through your nose, and then you blow it slowly out of your mouth, and the fingers rotate around each other in a circle. So when your mind is feeling loud like a hurricane wind, first I make them spin it really loud, like really fast, really fast.
Mm.
Then they're going to start slowing it down. So as they take a breath in and a slow breath out, their fingers start to slow down. So it's a visual clue that their breath is going to start slowing down. And so they keep doing that for at least 3 to 5 breaths to start it off. And that's how you build. Like, whenever you feel like your thoughts are racing around, it feels noisy, like a busy city, this is what you do. You do this windy windmill breath to slow down the wind in your brain.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love that. So, so this sounds awesome. It sounds like for you, this was optimal. You were like, okay, I'm pregnant. I've been teaching these in preschools. Now I can and practice it with my own son. Now, do you work with people whose kids are older, who may already have a 6, 7, 8 year old, and they want to share these tools with their kids, but their kids may already have some resistance to that kind of thing? I mean, I know that my daughters are 9 and 13, and they have tons of resistance to the whole idea of mindfulness and meditating because mama is the mindful mama mentor, and they want nothing to do with that, you know? So what happens? Have you worked with people who with kids who are a little older, but maybe within the range of what you're talking about?
So my honest specialty is the young children. It's between the children of ages 4 through 8, and at schools, like I'd be trickling it in at 3, but really I think 4 to 8 is like that prime pocket of time where they're receptive and they're able to get it. I've worked very closely with Malika Chopra, like as far as like when parents want to go to the next step, she has a great resources, like basically how I have this book for 4 to 8 year olds, she has the book for children who are like that 8 to 13 year olds, like just
Mhm.
breathe and just feel. They're
Mhm.
great resources. Like now that you have children who can read by themselves, that, and her books are relatable for that age range. She worked with her own kids and her nieces and nephews who were in like what you're talking about, the age range of your daughters, that like what would be what would be like understandable or geared towards them. So her books have like more of exercises based off of like what they deal with, like whether it's
Mm.
like situations with friends or like, someone says something like not nice, like situations that they find themselves in very commonly when you're like a tween and a teen, and then relating the breath or the exercise or the meditation to that. So I think she brilliantly, like she's the next step, I feel like, for that age range. My expertise is really the young children,
Mm,
and
mhm.
making it playful and making it understandable. And really my entry point, because I have a lot of experience of bringing parents into it when they're new to it. So that's really my niche.
That's great. That's great. So there we go. We have some more resources for kids with older kids, and but if you have younger kids, this sounds awesome. So we can practice some windmill breath, etc. Would you what are you doing now to take care of your anxiety and feelings and such that are coming up during this whole experience, and how are you dealing with it for yourself personally?
Yeah, I definitely, we're like in week 2 while we shoot this of lockdown, and definitely week 1, I was fine. And then Wednesday, Thursday, I think I felt this like heavy weight. I think it's partially just my own emotions, but also feeling the collective heaviness. I
Mm,
just felt it all at once. And what really helps me with my anxiety, and I think this also stems from my training of really working with like understanding the energies of your body, is that when we're feeling that extensive heaviness and that anxiety, like I felt that real like loudness in my mind, moving like emotions are just energy in motion. So when we feel that stagnant energy, one of the best things that we could do, and I know right now we're stuck in our homes, is like actually physically move the energy out. So I've been doing, anytime I feel that heaviness, I put music, and kind of like tribal music too, like things that have like beats to it, where I'm like slamming the floors and like kind of shaking my body. And like, if you're a dance party type of person, put like loud upbeat music, like just move your body, because right now when you're feeling the heaviness, we need to dispel that energy before we can find stillness, or we can like, before these breaths even really work. Sometimes for me, if there's a lot of that heaviness, I have to move the energy out of my body, and then I can find stillness. So I've been doing like, that's like on our schedule, dance party, whether it's like our family dance party, or I'm just like putting tribalist like music on by myself and just like shaking it out.
that rocks. I love that. Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing for me. For one of my biggest tools for managing my anxiety in these times is I run. So I go for a run. I call it getting my yayas out.
Yeah, I like that.
That's what I said to my kids today. I said, I gotta go get my yayas out, and I go for a run. It was cool, actually, speaking of sharing things with your kids, that my 13-year-old decided she wanted to run. And so we ran together, and it felt really good, and it was fun. And what I'm doing with them as I am getting them outside or moving in some way, whatever way you can get your kids moving, is saying, oh, doesn't it, just helping them point out and see that, doesn't it feel good to wake up your body, to have it move? Doesn't your body feel good and alive, to be doing this? Just kind of pointing that out. I think movement is a great resource. Any ideas for those of us who, I think you could probably, any ideas for movement for someone who's really stuck for time and stuck inside? I mean, I guess you could do like a 3-minute dance
For me,
party.
yeah. And I see, like a lot of people who love running, like you have the luxury of, because you live in a suburban area, you can run. And I know that some people, like I have friends that live in New York City right now, and they're like complete lockdown, like in their apartment, and they're like going crazy. And that's like, so if you're stuck at home, you could do the dance party. But if you have the luxury, which is amazing, to go out and get fresh air, even doing like jumping jacks, like outside,
Mm.
and just like, if you can, I know everybody's different and like where they live and their constraints, but like, yeah, I feel like the dance party, you can do it in your house, and just make the music loud. Like I tell my son, like, you can, like, in that 5 minutes, you can like hit the sticks and you can drum on things and like make it loud and obnoxious and big and just get it all out.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I guess for me, the resource that comes to mind, if you're really like, no way ever am I going to do a dance party, you try the 7-minute workout. It's on your like Amazon Alexa if you have that, or it's wherever you can just find a bunch of versions of it, and it's really cathartic. My kids have done the 7-minute workout with me too.
Yeah.
So 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 you're seeing, so this is great, like what, this tools to help your kids chill. And I love this. We can help our kids get that get learn what feels yummy, what feels yucky. I love that. That's so beautiful. Are there any other things that you're doing with your kids to get through this time, as far as practices or um, anything like that?
This has been an opportunity. Like, even though I'm a yoga teacher, I wouldn't say that I did like a lot of yoga with my son. So this is giving me an opportunity to kind of dive deeper into my yoga practice again with him, and just kind of like share that with him. I I've been focusing more on the meditation and the breath work for so long. So that's been really nice. Like, we've been doing like family, like my husband's been joining on like family yoga. We've been doing like our short like family meditation. Yeah, that's really been kind of like what we've been, our go-to has been.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I am very interested in checking in with everyone about, like, what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for right now? What are you appreciating? We're doing a lot of that. And I'm reading Watership Down with my 9-year-old, which we are enjoying a whole lot. Um, well, Tejal, this has been amazing. Where can people find you and find your book? Tell us all about it.
Thank you. So you can find the book. The book is available for pre-order. It comes out April 14th. It's available for pre-order on Amazon. You can even go to my site, meditationforkidsbook.com. I actually have a mini like meditation course for parents, who has 5 bonus exercises with little videos that parents can watch and actually do if they want to start infusing these practices in their children's routine. It's not like you don't have enough on your plate already, but if it's something, it's just a couple minutes, like 1 to 3 minutes a day, you can start doing that. And I am going to be hosting, I was supposed to have live book launch events in May, which obviously are postponed now. So on May 9th, I'm actually doing a national online book launch event until I can actually hold the in-person ones. So definitely, if are interested in that, there's information on reserving your seat for that, as well as I'm really, really big on Instagram. My son and I do meditation videos, so really quick videos. So if you want to watch the videos and follow along, my handle is at Tejal V Patel. And definitely tune into my Time and Talks podcast. I do also like little special episodes with my son, where he'll come on and talk about mindful solution to modern kid problems, where he takes the lead and he'll talk about things that are relevant for 4 to 8 year olds, and how to mindfully deal with them. But also have amazing guests, like Hunter has been a guest on the podcast, but just mindful solutions to modern mom problems. So yeah, that's the best places to find me.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for putting this effort and energy into making this so accessible for kids, and making it something that, does sound realistic and doable. I came in a little skeptical, as Thejal remembers, and I was like, well, are they really going to be able to? And it does sound really accessible, really doable, really practical. sounds awesome. Go get the book and let's pass these tools on to the next generation and focus on these things that we can have influence and effect on, and that's our kids. And so I think it's awesome. Thank you so much, Tejal.
Thank you so much, Hunter.
I love this vision that Tejal has about kids meditating. I think her child is awfully lucky, but we can do this, right? Like if you have little kids, you can take these tools into your life. Check out her book, Meditation for Kids, and maybe you can get yourself some Zen kiddos or Kundalini kiddos, I guess. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If it's helpful, please share it around. That helps an awful lot. Please leave a review and subscribe, of course, anywhere you listen to this podcast. That makes a huge difference as we grow this Mindful Mama tribe. It's growing. We're rounding down on 700,000 downloads of this podcast. So you're part of a big community all around the world. Actually, like, it's amazing. Sometimes I can look at the countries and see all these different countries around the world. It's really awesome. Shout out to South Africa, and there was someone in Palestine and everything. It's really pretty wild. So shout out to you. And a shout out to my New Zealand mamas and Aussies. So happy you're here too. And everyone, wherever you are in the world, of course, I'm so happy you're here. Before I go, I just want to remind you that the Mindful Parenting Teacher Training Program is going to be happening soon. If you are passionate about parenting, if you really want to ingrain these tools in yourself for life, there's nothing like teaching to learning something. If you want to take the Mindful Parenting course to your local community, then check it out. We should have something up soon at mindfulmamamentor.com. And if we don't, just email me if you're curious at hunter@mindfulmamamentor.com. And I'm wishing you a beautiful, peaceful week. I hope you ride these waves that are happening in this crazy time. And don't expect a lot of yourself. I think I'm going at like 30% capacity. So if that's you too, you're not alone, okay? All right, I'm wishing you well, my friend. Thank you so much for listening. Namaste. Are you a mom who wants to feel less stressed and enjoy motherhood more? Do you want to be calmer with your kids and be more present for life? I've gone from being stressed and yelling to become more grounded, more at ease, and have more enjoyable, cooperative relationships with my kids. I'm going to show you how to do it too. If you currently feel stuck or stagnant, this is for you. I've created a free, downloadable audio training, Mindfulness for Moms, the Superpower You Need. It will show you how to respond rather than react, how to let go of stress and feel more grounded in seconds, how to have a smoother day today and become more present for your kids. To get this absolutely free, simply visit the website mindfulmomguide.com. That's mindfulmomguide.com. Get started with mindfulness, the superpower moms need. I'll see you there.